Hi everyone, and welcome back to another week of We Mean Business. This week on the show, we have the wonderful Sara Frances Walker. Hi!
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, good, thank you. It looks like you've got the lovely sunshine that I've got as well. I feel like I can see it coming through your window.
Yeah, it was very, very misty this morning, but the sun has broken through now and it should be nice.
Yes, a bit of blue skies is always nice. Amazing. So for anyone who doesn't know Sara, she is a financial coach and independent financial planner who works with mature women. So to start things off, Sara, can you tell us a bit about why you do what you do?
Well, it's a very good question. Why do I do what I do? Well, I've been doing it a long time. I've been in financial services a very long time, 32 years, in fact. And I did some advice in my younger years in different roles, and then went back into sort of the admin and power planning side when I had my children. And then I've just gradually come back to it. And I got to the point where I thought I wouldn't do it on my own again. And it was actually my husband said, "No, it's not too late. You're not too old. Come on, give it a go." And I'm really glad I did. It's not been easy. I think I made that decision 2019. So we've had, elections, Brexit. Things were settling down nicely at the beginning of 2020. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
But why I work with women, I don't just exclusively work with women, but I decided to focus particularly the financial coaching with women and women sort of over 45. And the reason for that really, Chanelle, was because, when you've had 32 years in this wonderful profession, you do know that women are still very much behind. And that age group in particular, the younger women, they're much more switched on now. They're much more aware, and they're more aware of what's available out there in the world of information. Whereas the older ladies, well, I say older ladies, but I like to call us mature. Why is it mature? They're still way behind men for pensions, for savings, and also just generally financial independence. And obviously, I've known over the years that statistically, we know that women in that age are often going through separation, divorce, bereavement. You might have children leaving home, you're caring for elderly relatives. And then there's often career changes, starting a business, all sorts of things going on. So from the financial point of view, I really wanted to work with those women because I've got a lot of experience with them and obviously understand them myself. But then I started to go through the whole menopause business myself and thought, this isn't great. And I just, through chatting to women in that age group, realizing the impact it was having. And of course, everybody's different. But then I looked into how it can actually affect your ability to make decisions, choices. It adds to overwhelm, it adds to anxiety. So if you add that into the mix of all the other things that a lot of women of that age are dealing with, they really do need some help and support from somebody that can empathise and listen and just give them a bit of space that they need, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it was your husband that said, "No, come on, you can do this. You can go back to being a business owner and that sort of thing." So why did you, so you had your husband saying you can do this, but why did you decide to launch your own business?
I wanted to do it my way, my standards, my ethics. Principally that. I'd worked with and for other people, some great people before, but the industry is very, very stuck in its ways. And I think the financial coaching has opened up a way that you can work with people as well. I've always liked the financial planning rather than just, let's flog a product, which was very much how it was when I started in the profession, very, very much. So I wanted to just better do it my way and work with people the way I wanted to work with them, and get to know them the way I wanted to get to know them, really.
Yeah. And was there a moment when you were like, right, now's the time, or did it just sort of happen over time?
It was a bit of a gradual thing. I don't think I realised what was going on. But I was getting very frustrated. And probably the hormones didn't help with that. But yeah, I think I just got to the point that I just thought, well, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. You know, I'm not getting any younger. And I just, you know, I'd had my children later, and I just thought, no, I can still do it. It's never too late.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned that obviously you're a financial coach, and therefore one of the areas you focus on is people's behaviours around money. And what would you say are some of the most useful tools when you work with your clients to sort of determine their behaviours and pick up on these things?
Listening. Listening is the biggest one. And actually, you think you're a good listener, or I thought I was a good listener. And then when you do your training, you realise that actually, no, you need to take it to a whole new level.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, literally before I'd go into a coaching session, and I learnt this, I literally will sort of almost like imagine if you're outside of your office, and before you go into the office, even if you're doing it on Zoom, which most are, you just kind of get into the zone, and you do a few breathing exercises, and you have to empty out all your own biases, because as a planner, you're always finding the solution. But as a coach, you're not, you're listening. And that way you pick up on those little crumbs of language, you really observe the body language, and then you can really listen and then investigate that further with them. And it's amazing what comes out.
Yeah, I can imagine. And was that quite a sort of hard skill to learn? Did you find that? Because I can imagine if I start thinking about emptying out my brain of sort of all the way I already think, and I think that would probably be quite hard. I think that would be something I'd have to spend a while working on. Did you find that?
It is really hard, and it still is. It's always a challenge, but you have to practice, and you have to keep practicing. And even, you know, the people I practice with, we still go back and still continue to practice, because you always continue to learn and pick up on things. But yeah, you have to practice, and the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. But then the hard part then is when you then go back in to see a more traditional advice planning client.
Yeah.
But I find then it just really enhances then the way you work with them.
Yeah, interesting. And one thing I was really interested in when you said you're a financial planner and a financial coach, what is the split like between those? Have you got sort of a certain amount of clients that are just financial coaching, just financial planning? Do they all tend to be a mix of the two? How does that sort of work?
Well, it's still quite early days, Chanelle, but I have advice clients, existing advice clients I've obviously had for a while, and then I get obviously new advice clients referred to me, and then the coaching clients come to you separately. And sometimes, I mean, there's a lady I'm working with at the moment who wanted to learn how to manage money herself and how to invest herself. She didn't want to work with a planner, but she said, I don't need the coaching. So I don't need the coaching. I've done a lot of mindset work. And I said, okay, that's great. After our first conversation, she went, I really need the coaching, don't I? And I've had amazing feedback from her and the things that have come out. So it can work with either, but you start off differently, because obviously the advice clients, it's got to be very clear that's what they're having. It's a regulated
yes, that's
work,
true.
so it's got to be very clear, and they're completely separate. I do my advice through an advice firm, and I do my coaching completely separately. If I need to refer either, you just has to be very clear that they're going from a regulated service into a non-regulated, or vice versa.
Yes, of course, that makes sense. And do you find they do blend together quite well? Have you had clients that do have financial planning and financial coaching?
Yes, it was funny when I was first doing my training for the coaching. I was working with a couple. Well, they're still clients, and they'd been struggling. There wasn't, the issue was not the money. There was plenty of money. The issue was how they felt. And as I was learning the coaching, I suddenly thought, I'm going to explore something. And I said, would you be happy for us to have a conversation and explore something here? And so we had our first conversation, just asking some questions, and they felt they were just chatting. And at the end of the conversation, they sort of said, "Oh, it just feels so much safer now." And then the next time we met, other things came out, and it was really the husband just couldn't get away from the feeling that I need to earn, I need to provide, because he'd worked hard most of his life and was providing for the family, looking after the family, was very much in that mindset. And he couldn't understand that he could actually afford to actually be nice to himself or spend some money on himself. And after our second meeting, I had the feedback of, I had a phone call from the wife saying, "Sarah, he's just gone and bought his bike," because he loves his cycling. And of course, bikes, I've got a cycling man husband, and you can pay really silly money for a bike. But he hadn't spent any money on himself. And then he emailed me and said, "It's ordered. I'm so excited. I would never have done this without you." So it's things like that, which are just they're not really about the money, but they are kind of. So yeah. So it can be just about buying a bike.
Yeah, that's really yeah, it's really interesting. It's just like you said, it's quite simple really, but it's such a big, I bet he felt so different and so good for something he just needed a slight bit of help with. Yeah, just so simple that he deserved to have nice things, and it was okay to buy nice things.
That place of safety, really. Once people feel they're in a place of safety, whatever that looks like to them, then they're able to move forward. Yeah.
Amazing. So you're also a big advocate for financial well-being. That was going to be a bit mouthful then. I wasn't sure I was going to get that out properly with your clients. So could you tell us a bit about how you define financial well-being and what that means for your clients?
Yeah, there's been a lot about this, hasn't there? And for me, it really is how I feel. Because financial, I mean, you'll know if you work in this present, there's a lot of people, not just women, who can just, well, money can be can generate a lot of fear. It can generate shame. It can generate guilt. The old I ams and I shoulds. And it's moving away from that. So they actually feel, if anything that reduces anybody's level of anxiety or fear or tension or shame or guilt promotes their well-being. So if you can do that through coaching or planning and some financial education with people, you're promoting their overall well-being, because you're taking a big section of what might be causing them fear and anxiety and all those things away from them. So that to me is what financial well-being is all about, and having people not fear it, not judge it, and know that it's just a part of their life. And that money isn't everything. It's about all those other things that mean so much to them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it's a topic that is talked about a lot more now, and it should be talked about a lot more. And I feel like going back when I sort of entered the industry like 7 years ago, that it wasn't ever really talked about, I don't think. I worked at a few different financial advisor firms, and it wasn't a conversation. But now I think everyone at least is talking about it in some way, which I think is amazing. And I think we'll have to going forward. I think most financial planning, financial advice firms should incorporate it in one way or another.
I think it's important that it's not a brand, it's not a label. I think it's important that it's just part of the overall part of the service. You know, you're there to I always say, you know, we're there to make people feel better. You know, I started off my working life working in hairdressers. Don't look at the hair. And you know, our job was to make people look better and feel better. And now I just make people feel better.
Yeah, no, amazing. That's brilliant.
You know, it's the same thing. It's how they feel. It's how, you know, it's that process. And I think over the years, certainly in my journey in financial services, it's totally changing from, I mean, it was all about, when I started, it was all about flogging a product and getting commission. I'm sorry, but that's what it was, you know. And you know, your prop fee on a mortgage or your commission on a bond or a pension, I mean, it's about that. And yes, you might have been helping people to save or protect their families or things like that, but it really was a very good way to earn a living. to be blunt.
Yeah,
I remember an IFA I worked for many decades ago, and he won't mind me saying this. He said to me about describing indemnity commission, which you might not even remember. He said it's one of the best interest-free loans you'll ever have.
Wow.
And it's interesting,
Yeah.
isn't it? And now
It
we've gone
is.
full circle, and we've gone through that period of, we had RDR, and we should be doing holistic financial planning, and we should be doing this. And to my mind, if you're actually interested in the people that you're working with and where they're at in life, where they're, what's worrying them, what matters to them, all the rest of it will follow. You will be a good planner, and you will promote their financial well-being, and you will treat them fairly. And I think it all comes down to how you feel about the people that you work with.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I worked for a few different advisor firms, and as I sort of moved from one to another, any firm that I work with, that I felt the clients weren't they weren't long term, they weren't sort of a bit of an in and out, and they had their products and they went, it made me realize this is not what I want from being a financial planner. Like, I want someone to come on board and have a really good relationship with me, and for the foreseeable future they will be a client, and I'm here if they need me, and we'll have our regular reviews. I didn't want to set them up with an ISA and then they disappear for the next 20 years, because that didn't make sense to me. And I remember watching the other advisors, it was like a carousel. Like, they would come on, like the advisors would come on, then they'd fly off the end and we'd never see them again. And I thought, that is definitely not what I want from financial planning. Definitely.
I don't know. People say that women can make really good financial planners. I don't think it is just women, but I just think women are more interested in the relationship, potentially, and also the reward of the relationship. And there's just no joy in the job if all you're doing is just flogging that. Yes, I've got some money and moving on to the next one. It's all about the people, and it depends what you get out of the job. Yes, we're all in it to earn a living and make some money and be successful, but yeah, it's, if you're not actually enjoying what you're doing, why are you doing it?
Yeah, no, 100%. And as we mentioned earlier, you work with primarily mature women. You talked a bit about why you do that and how it came about. Is that your sort of niche, would you say? I know you mentioned you would have other clients. Is something that people always talk about. So is that just the clients you work with, or is it just mainly the clients?
It's not just the clients I work with. I've had a man refer to me recently, actually. But yeah, this niching's become a very big thing.
It's a big conversation again that I didn't hear a few years ago.
Yeah, when I was, in the process of launching, which I'm still really in the process of, the coaching side, I thought, well, I will specialise in focusing on helping these women, because I just feel I really can, and I shall really enjoy doing it. And I'm very passionate about financial independence for women in general. So yeah, that's why. But yes, I will work. I will consider anybody. Something else that I'm looking at, and I don't know if you've explored this at all, so forgive me because I'm new to Next Gen, but is also helping people on the spectrum. I've got twin boys myself who are on the spectrum. They're 18 now, and that's been a huge learning curve, and it opens your eyes. And through then, obviously, I've got to know other people. And I don't know whether it's just chance, but I've had a couple of people referred to me who are on the spectrum. At the moment, they are women. They're different ages. They're at totally different points in their lives. But it's just interesting for me, suddenly realising the extra challenges that they were facing because of, the way they have to receive information and process information, and the way they communicate primarily doesn't make it easy. So that's another area I want to look into more, because there's definitely an area of people there that need help and need to feel there's someone who's just going to get them, and they can just be themselves and feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think how amazing would that be if they know you're there as a planner, as a coach, and you get them and you understand them, and how maybe they need the conversations to be held and what is best for them. I think, that would be amazing. I've not seen people do that, and really, when you think about it, it's incredibly important, because everyone needs financial planning, financial coaching, and if you can do it in a way that works for them, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's just when I've had these couple of inquiries said, oh, I thought you might be a good person for them to come and talk to you, and that's when I thought, oh, maybe I should look more into that. I know there's certainly a need for it in the profession.
Yes, I completely agree.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. So when you created your company, did you start as a financial planning firm and add coaching, or did you set off with both of those areas?
No, and in fact, my financial planning, it's not my own firm.
Okay.
I'm part of another group. I'm part of a network,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and I'm part of an AR and appointed rep of that network. So,
Oh, okay.
no, I did look at going directly authorised, but
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, I don't know, I didn't feel overly confident doing it at the time, and I thought if I was on my own, I'd quite like a team around me, because if something happens to me, what happens to my clients, all those sorts of things. And I had, well, what we thought was COVID early on in the pandemic, and that made me think, there's not much backup.
Yeah,
So
no, of
for
course.
various reasons, no, I don't do it directly authorised. I think particularly at the time I was looking, the FCA's quite busy, shall we say, at the moment.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So yeah, no, I think it's nice having a team around you. It's nice knowing you've got somebody to say, look, I'm come across this case, and can I talk you through? It's very important because you don't know everything. So that's nice, but no, the coaching is separate, and I wanted, and I went to them and said, I want to do financial coaching. It will be separate. So I wanted to go with an IFA that was going to be happy for me to do that.
Oh, okay, amazing, interesting. And we talked before, we were chatting before we came on here, and and you asked why I did this, and I said that I'd just gone to a few conferences and I'd a few times been one of very, very few women in the room, and it was quite overwhelming. And I just wanted people to speak to and speak to other women in the industry. So what would you say, is there anything you think we could do to reduce the barriers for young women entering the financial planning profession? Is there anything we can do to get more women in, that kind of thing?
I think there needs to be more of this sort of thing. I think we need them to realise what it actually could mean for them as a career. Because at the moment they probably just see it as, I need to get these exams and I need to get people buying these products and doing investments. I think if they can see that there's so much more to it, and actually they might have choices as to how they might like to work with people, and the possibilities that are there, I think that would be good. It's not easy. It's still very grey suit.
Yeah.
But I used to say it was, if you went into a conference, it was grey suits, not much hair, and a middle-aged spread. But as my middle-aged spread is larger than most men, I can't say that anymore. I do definitely have hair, so that's why.
But I know exactly what you mean. I've definitely been to a few of the conferences, and I always say my dad's a financial planner, and that's why I'm a financial planner, and in my eyes he's the best financial advisor ever. So I'm still a big fan of the older men in suits. He has still got some hair, which is great, but yeah, I'm still a big fan of them. But it just would be nice to see obviously more women coming in, and like you said, I think we do have a lot of those skills such as empathy, and we I know me personally and a lot of women I speak to really value those long-term client relationships, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, I know we joked about the suits, but it's not so much that's what they all look like. It's the fact that when you walk into that room, even if I've been into those, even when yourself are wearing really quite smart, the female equivalent of the suit, you're still just assumed to be the admin or the paraplanner. It was changing. We haven't been to many of those lately. They're all on Zoom now, but it was beginning to change, and there were certainly more women there, and more women actually presenting at those things, which I think also makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yes, no, I definitely agree. It's nice to see a woman on the stage, and for me, it's sort of thing where I think, well, maybe I could be up there one day. I was quite scary thought, but it's nice to. It's not as it doesn't seem as much of an aspiration if there's a man stood up there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I think it definitely is changing, and I know I've seen change in the last 5 years, and it is definitely heading in the right direction. Hopefully things like this help make those changes. But what would you say you're excited to see about the future of financial planning?
Oh, I think there's a really amazing future for financial planning. I think as often in life, it's very easy to look back on the past and say all that was wrong, or all that's not good, or even where we are might be now. But there is real change afoot, and there's a lot of people, and certainly over the last 2 years, I've met so many people in this profession who are just so keen to make it better and make changes and have those better relationships with people. And I think the more it goes to be about people and less about products, the better. I think one of the biggest things we need to do is make it so that it is still a great business to come and earn a good living, and really, you can have your own business and everything else, but mean that when you're sitting down with a client, you're not sitting there thinking, oh, you've only got £50,000. That's, if I only charge 12% ongoing, that's not really enough. It's not viable for me. And I think that has still been one of the biggest blocks. It's the blocks to people accessing advice. I spoke to people only the other day that referred to me from a bookkeeper who said nobody wanted to talk to us. Been trying to talk to someone for 2 years.
Wow.
Because they didn't have, well, actually they did have some money, but yeah, they weren't for most advisors who earn on a percentage of ongoing funds under management, viable for them. And I think that's a big thing that needs to change. Fee for service would be great, and then other things available so that there's more accessible information, because there's so much available information online that people don't know where to start, or they can very easily get overwhelmed. And that's our biggest challenge as a profession. It's reaching those people.
Yeah, I always say that. I say that the internet is the most amazing place and it tells you so much, but sometimes that actually makes it really difficult because it tells you so much, you don't even know where to start, because one website says something's great, another website says, oh, actually, no, don't use that. So I find that's when a lot of people come and have conversations with me, is they say, I've done all I can, and I've gone online and I've just gone, oh my gosh, this is just a bit much. I would rather just speak to a professional who knows what they're talking about and go from there. But no, I couldn't agree more, especially about, like you said, the fees and stuff like that. I know when I came into the industry, I never wanted to, if someone could actually do with my help and my knowledge that I've learned, I am finding ways and making business changes, stuff like that, to make that work. Because in my head, it baffled me to say, okay, you haven't got a big pension transfer that I can do, so you can't really be a client, when actually they would really benefit from the skills and knowledge that I've spent many exams trying to learn. So I think hopefully going forward there'll be ways we can do that. I think there will. It's just change of something that's been the way it has a very long time. But amazing. Yeah, definitely. So we are coming to the end now, but I would like to ask you for a book or podcast recommendation if you have one.
Ooh. That would be difficult because there are so many. A book for, I suppose I work with a lot of small business owners as well. So I think The Who Not How, and I'd have to think of the name of the author, but that's my age. But if you look up Who Not How.
Yeah.
And also that was recommended to me, and that really helps small business owners. But for people generally with money, for women, there's In Her Financial Shoes by Catherine Morgan. That's really good. I would be launching my own podcast soon, but I can't really promote that yet because it's not out.
Well, we can tell everyone to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, that'll be Her Financial Voice. But yeah, I think I'm not going to be very helpful with this, Chanelle, because
No, they are brilliant suggestions.
So many on the go. I think one of the best sites for people generally looking for money would be Money Saving Expert, and just search for the specific thing you're looking for, because again, it can be very busy when you first go in.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. A book, a podcast, and a website is perfect. So thank you. So sadly, that is all we have time for today, but it's been really lovely speaking to you, Sarah, and thank you very, very much for coming on.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. It's lovely to meet you.
And you. Amazing. So, of course, thank you guys at home for watching. And next week, we'll have another amazing lady from the world of finance. If you'd like to keep informed about upcoming shows, get previous recordings and much more, please do sign up to the mailing list, which we posted in the chat. Thank you all for watching. Have a lovely weekend, and we will see you